Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to today's session, which is going to be quick, fun, but crucial when it comes to your IELTS preparation. You see, there's a lot of information about this test all over the internet. And even though I've already told you that the holy word when it comes to IELTS is the IELTS official website, I know you still watch a lot of influencers, creators, bloggers, and educators online who share their own experiences, give you their own unique tips and tricks. And because you're exposed to so much content, misinformation somehow always creeps in. And we need to be wary of this misinformation because it's going to hurt the way we prepare for the IELTS. So I am Asmita, your IELTS mentor here at Vedantu, and today I'm just going to show you some things that people think are true, and we're going to figure out if they actually are true or not when it comes to the IELTS test. And we're going to do this with the help of this lady right here. Do you know who she is? That's Moira, one of my favorite characters from any show ever. And the show she's from is called Schitt's Creek. Yes. So again, like I told you, your IELTS preparation should be fun. And a part of that fun is watching content from English-speaking countries so that you kind of understand how people talk and learn some idiomatic phrases and all of that. So Schitt's Creek is a great watch, really good show, hilarious. You'll get a lot of insight into how people communicate in America and Canada, and Moira is just the best character ever. So we're going to use some of her iconic lines, iconic dialogues, and iconic moments to figure out or to distinguish fact from fiction, right? But before we do that, have you subscribed to the channel? Have you? If not, please do it. Make your friends subscribe as well so that all of you can go abroad together and have a blast. And follow us on our Telegram so you don't miss out on important updates. So let's start with this line right here, one of my favorites. Be careful, John, lest you suffer vertigo from the dizzying heights of your moral high ground. So Moira's sassy. She always has the best comebacks, which are, as you can see, are always extremely complicated. So her lexical resource is worth envying. I'll get to what lexical resource is in just a minute, right? So this is the way Moira talks, and it doesn't seem odd because she's just really extra as a character. She has all these fancy wigs. She's always overdressed wherever she goes, and that's just simply the way she talks, and it suits her personality, right? So that's just who Moira is. Now, do you have to change yourself in order to impress your IELTS examiner? The most common misconception, well, you're going to tell me if it's true or not. What people mostly believe is that you need an American, British, or Australian accent to score high. So those band 9ers over there in the little elite circle always have one of these accents. Is that true? Do you think that's true? 3, 2, 1. If you thought that was true, you are completely wrong because this is fiction. This is not true. So if you take a look at the 4 different things that examiners have to look at and keep in mind while giving you your scores for your speaking test, accent is explicitly stated as not to be considered. But what is also stated is that whatever is being said has to be clear, has to be clearly understood. So we're going to go through that entire sheet. I'm going to take you through that when we do our speaking session in detail, which is going to be the next session. All right. But for now, please, if you think that you need to change your accent to get a high band, that's not true. An Indian accent is fine as long as you are easily understood, okay? So you need to be clear in the way you're communicating. You don't have to fake an accent, okay? All right, next. Why must you be so constantly irksome, all right? And like I said, Moira has an enviable lexical resource. Now, what is this lexical resource that I keep talking about? Sounds fancy, really isn't. Your lexical resource is simply the vocabulary you have, right? So, what's the point of vocabulary in a language? It just helps you communicate better. Without vocabulary, you can't translate whatever's going on in your head and you can't communicate that to another person. Like, we feel a lot of things, we have a lot of opinions, and the best way we put them forward is through our use of words, using appropriate words for the appropriate situation, right? So vocabulary is definitely a must. But as we all know, there is a range when it comes to vocabulary, and I'm just going to put Shashi Tharoor over here as a reference, right? So do you have to be a Shashi Tharoor to get a band 9? No, you absolutely do not have to be Shashi Tharoor to get a band 9. You can be right over here and also do well as long as you have the appropriate vocabulary. So it's not about knowing the most complicated word for something. It's about knowing the right word for the right situation. Okay? So do you need to talk like Moira or Shashi Tharoor? Do you need to have a good vocabulary to score high? See, I'm going to mark this as fact, but I'm also going to define good as appropriate and not advanced. So you don't need an advanced vocabulary, you need the appropriate vocabulary that you can very easily build once you go through the kind of prompts that you're going to come across in your speaking test and your writing test, all right? So yes, I would say you do need to have a good vocabulary as long as you know that good means appropriate, all right? Next, what you did was impulsive, capricious, and melodramatic. Again, great use of words there, you know, that can really hurt a person if you throw that at them at the wrong time. But then here's our next fact or fiction. You cannot prepare in advance for the speaking test. It has to be spontaneous. Now, we all have good days and bad days. Some days we just know exactly what to say and we say the right thing at the right time. Other days our brain's a little foggy, we're just not feeling that great, and we're always just constantly at a loss of words. So if you think that being spontaneous is what gets you a high score, you also know that you cannot be your best self every day. And so they do take that into consideration, right? Which is why this is not true. You absolutely can prepare in advance for the speaking test. So let's first mark this as fiction. And how can you prepare for the test in advance? You can practice all the different kind of questions that are asked in the speaking test. You know, you can find these questions online. Whoever you're following for your, I mean, if you have bought a course, if you attend a coaching class, or if you're just looking at resources online, you can easily find these prompts and questions. You can even use ChatGPT to help you out with this, right? And as long as you're familiar with the kind of questions that are asked, and if you have a fair idea of what you can say for each kind of question, you will be good here. You can prepare in advance, and that definitely helps because there's a lot going on test day already. You're scared, you're nervous, you're anxious, you're tired, maybe you didn't sleep right, maybe you had a fight with someone. So it's always good to have some kind of preparation before any kind of stressful test situation, right? Okay, now this is just a meme with one of Moira's dialogues, which is, "My kids, I need help with math." And that's me saying, "Why should I be encumbered with this emotional cargo?" Okay, so next thing here is grammar mistakes hurt your score. Okay, I'm going to mark this as fact. And grammar mistakes can hurt your score because grammar is important for both writing and speaking. Okay, but there's always a but in there somewhere. Some grammar mistakes, especially the kind that native speakers generally make, are okay. It's okay to make grammar mistakes that natives would make because nobody has perfect English. And when you communicate, even when it comes to your regional language, do you always form full proper sentences? That's not natural, right? You don't do that. So it's very normal to mess up a preposition here or there. It's fine to change the sentence structure a bit. All of that is okay as long as it sounds like something a native speaker would do, right? So, but mistakes that native speakers would make are okay. All right. So yes, do make sure that you have a solid foundation in grammar. See, if you're aiming for a band 9 or band 8 and you really don't, or you haven't been talking in English all this while, you've just started properly studying the language, learning the rules, and you're still at the basic levels, you cannot really aim for a band 8 or band 9 right away because that's just now not how language learning works. Like, if I were to pick up a mathematical problem, learn all the rules around it, and depending upon how hard I work, I would be able to solve that problem maybe a week later or 2 weeks later. But when it comes to language, there's just so many influences, and it's regardless of how hard you work or what you do, it's just going to take time. It's a process that takes time. So keep your aim, your goal realistic. Doesn't mean you give up. Just give yourself enough time. Be truthful with yourself, where you are, which stage of preparation you're at, and then aim accordingly, right? So if the criteria that you have to meet for university is 7.5, then you aim for 8. Don't aim for band 9. Okay, be realistic with the goals that you set for yourself. Make sure you figure out what you're lacking and work towards that. But don't get unrealistic. Don't think there's a crash course that can suddenly teach you English in 3 weeks. That's never going to happen. Don't fall for those traps. Okay? Which is why I keep saying this, the best way to prepare for the IELTS is to keep listening to how native speakers talk. So even if you make mistakes, they're just going to be very native speaker-like mistakes and not Indian mistakes that we tend to make. Okay? Next. The world is falling apart around us and I'm dying inside, aren't we all? Yes, little melodramatic, but doesn't hurt to be a drama queen, does it? You need vast knowledge of different topics to do well. So you're already stressed about the fact that you have you can't talk in English, and now you have to take this entire test where you are talking in English, writing in English, reading in English the entire time. A lot of what you want to do in life depends on this one test, right? But apart from that, you're now also worried about the fact that different kinds of questions are asked. And if I don't have good knowledge on trending topics like AI or traditions around the world, cultures, documentaries, music, and all of that, then I'm just going to be judged by my examiner and I'm not going to get a good score. So, do you need vast knowledge? The answer is no. This is fiction. Again, and I've said this a lot of times, but it doesn't hurt to say it again and again. The IELTS only tests whether or not you can communicate effectively in English and if you can hold a conversation with native speakers without any problems, right? Nobody cares what you do or do not know. You can sound like a complete idiot when it comes to talking about AI, but as long as you're doing that with fluency and coherence, with good pronunciation, with good vocabulary and good grammar, you're going to get a high band. So, of course, whatever you say has to have some basis. You can't just make stuff up, but you don't need to know a particular topics very deeply. This is not your IAS, UPSC interview. It's simply a communication test, okay? So don't freak out about this. It's completely fine if you don't know too much about the world, okay? All right, this wine is awful. Get me another glass. Ooh, that's Moira's personality right there, which brings me to the next fact or fiction, which is showing your true personality is not necessary. Okay, so what I'm saying might be a bit contentious, but I'm going to mark this as fact. And here's why. So sometimes we feel very deeply about certain things. We might have opinions that truly reflect our personality, that make us who we are. You know, that's our sense of self in the world. But maybe we do not have the vocabulary to express that part of ourselves right now. Maybe you can do it in your mother tongue. You can't do it in English yet. You'll get there, sure. For the purpose of the IELTS, it's okay to not express those opinions if you don't really know how. You can choose to say something that you don't really believe in or don't really know much about, as long as you have the appropriate vocabulary for it, right? For example, if it's a question about can AI replace humans, and you really feel that AI cannot replace humans, especially when it comes to art or writing or teaching or medicine, whatever it is, you might feel that way, but you cannot think of the right words to express that opinion. But somehow you can express the opposing side quite clearly. Then it's okay to express the opposing side clearly, because you're being judged for clear communication and not for your opinion on AI and humans, okay? So sometimes not showing your true personality, if it helps with fluency and coherence, it works, it's fine, okay? But this comes with another but, okay, that you'll just sound more genuine, and perhaps you'll take less time thinking about what you want to say if you are showcasing your true personality. So that can also be helpful. Being true to yourself just makes you express yourself better sometimes. Always keep that in mind. So, but being, I'm just gonna write being genuine can help you express better, right? Okay, so I think I've cleared that one out for you, and that brings us to the end of today's fact versus fiction. I hope you don't have too many questions, and if you see the spread of misinformation anywhere, if someone's asking you to change your accent, feel free to correct them, because really nobody has to go through extra problems just to take this one test. That really isn't that big of a deal, okay? If you need more help, if you need more guidance, if you're still a little overwhelmed when it comes to the entire application process to your university and then the whole immigration visa issues, you're also concerned about taking student loans, and if you just really need one person who can take care of all your issues for you, then we have a solution. You can get an expert who will help you out with everything just by filling this one form, which is in the description. So do that, and don't forget to subscribe and follow us on Telegram. Like the video if it was helpful, share it with your friends, and I will see you